welcome. You are here again for another Facebook Live at 62 Broadway. My name is Debbie, and I am here with an amazing panel today. We've been having a great weekend here. We've partnered with the Association for New Canadians, with Ben has been with us this weekend, and we've had all sorts of artists, musicians, business people, and giving talks on all things art and creative arts, I guess is the word. So I'm going to introduce you to our panel of everyone, and then we're going to get to hear a little bit about their creative process and a little bit about their journey. So let's start to my right with Kamsika. Kamsika is a dancer, and then we have John Winter, who is our musician, performed earlier today. Aiden is an artist, and I think you're all in the same program, right? So Aiden, Aldo, and Lynn are all in the same art program here at Memorial Grenville campus. So let's get it started. I'm going to I'll ask, and you can maybe, since we have such a large group, I'll have you hand the mic around and you can just answer. If there's a question that you really don't want to answer, then you don't have to. If there's one that we all like, then we can all take in. So my first question, since we've been looking at that process of creating art and finding that individual nature or what we want to express, how do you go about that process? What's your first step in finding inspiration? Maybe Kamsika, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The thing is, when I was a kid, I used to react for the music. No matter what is, and no matter who is around me, I just react. I dance, I move my hands, I just jump, and I don't care about anybody around me. I just jump.
Yeah.
That's how I react to the music. So, but I didn't go through a proper kind of a learning curve.
Yeah.
But when I was in my grade 6, I had to take a subject for my schools for study purpose, just for the grades.
Yes.
So that was the point that I forced into a subject called dance.
Yeah.
Then I had to, find a guru, which is a teacher, because dance, especially the form of my dance is Bharatanatyam, needs a teacher to learn. It's not like just go and dance. So I need to learn it properly. So that's how I get into dance. And from that day onwards, when I was 10 years old, from that day onwards, I started dancing. And that's how my step into dance started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sounds to me like there's a form, and you won't have to find your way in that form, which I think might be the same for our artists. I'll throw it over to the artists, because with art, I think there's a lot of structure. There's things that you will learn throughout the course of your art career. And then maybe you have to know those steps, like music too. You have to know the scales, you have to know those things, but then you get to explore within that realm. Can anyone talk about that? Is that how it works for you, that you know the process and you're just breaking out from it? Or
well, essentially, there's rules to every sort of creative process, in that there are rules of composition, color theory, figure, and there are certain things you need to follow, but it's sort of once you know those rules, you can kind of bend them, or even just completely ignore them at times, just to make them work however you'd like. Because you have someone like Jackson Pollock, who you would say oh, you need figure, form, something. He would literally just throw stuff at a canvas. So it's kind of interesting, because you always have these rules, but they're kind of negligible. I believe I'm using the right word.
well, you have to know them first, I think, right? That's what you're saying. You
To an
sort of
extent.
Understand them, and because you can't break them if you don't understand them.
It's usually better if you have a grasp, but then again, I'm self-taught mostly myself. I've learned a bit since coming to university, but in terms of actually learning composition and drawing, I mostly learned it just by lining up landscapes at home and just drawing them by eye. So It's kind of like the Kurt Cobain approach as opposed to like the classical musician approach. You can kind of just approach it however. There are rules, but you don't need to know the rules to know them, if that makes sense.
Right.
Believe that makes sense.
All right.
Anyone
Anyone
would
else
like to
want to
correct me.
add to that about form or no? We're good. We're good. All right. So, what about you, John? Though, as a musician, I know if you weren't able to be here today, we had an amazing performance earlier by John, and there was quite a range of music because I felt like there was the folk influences, we had some rock influences, but there was definitely like different forms. Like I could hear that. So the inspiration for you, what do you like to work in? Or you also played classical today. So, I didn't even know you played classical, and I know you. So there's lots of things that you were working within. Is there one that inspires you more, or is it the option of having all of that at your disposal, I guess?
At this point in my life, I just try to not draw a line between my life itself and my art.
Okay.
Just the most important thing for me in my music is to just be honest with myself, as honest as I can.
Yeah.
And then if I believe in what I do, then it has merit. And there will be people around who it will resonate with. And art, music, and writing, it's all about expression in the first place. And you should stay, maybe
Like staying
updated.
true to that. That's sort of what I'm hearing is like if you find what you're passionate about. And I think Roshane Mendes was here earlier, and she has a clothing line, and she was talking about that. You have that passion, and it's a passion project. And then when you bring it to the world, there will be people who are not interested, that maybe don't appreciate that art, but there will be people that do, and you have to find that audience. But if you're not true to what you want to convey, then it just won't be authentic. And that's what I'm hearing. Like you found your authentic self, and you want to bring that to the table.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. And embracing differences and uncertainty is also important, especially in these times.
Yes.
When I started out making music, I thought that I could just consciously, rationally decide what I want to do, what kind of project I want to have. Since we were taught that you can be anything that you want. But then the thing is that how would you actually know what you want if you're not trying to listen to your true inner self?
Yeah.
And then just taking a step from everything that you know, just clearing your mind and embracing differences, learning from differences, especially living in a multicultural place. It really helps.
Yeah. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, because that is a big thing that we've looked at this weekend. So everybody here has different cultural experiences, and we have culture that's different in different workplaces, different schools, different communities. One community of Newfoundland will have a different culture than another. But you're bringing unique experiences, and maybe I'll throw it over to either Lynn or Aldo here, if you want to talk about this. How does that cultural difference, when you feel like you've come from Labrador, I believe you told me, yeah, so from a Filipino background, but from Labrador. So that's two different cultures there. Labrador has a different culture than Newfoundland in many ways. There's lots going on. So now you've put yourself into Corner Brook, which is another type of culture and another place and school. How does that impact your artistic process and how you put it out there on the canvas?
I guess for me, it's really hard to kind of combine all these experiences that you have. Being that I was born in the Philippines, and then I immigrated to Labrador City when I was 10, and then now I'm going to school in Corner Brook in Newfoundland. I feel like there's a lot of cultures that I've definitely learned and like integrated with, and I think that that's one of the biggest reasons as to why I explore identity and culture the most when it comes to my art practice, and more specifically about home as well. Like I practice like the ideas and themes of home. And so instead of just categorizing myself to either one, I think that for me, I would open up those doors and try to combine all of them and assemble it into one culture where a lot of people or just the general public would be able to resonate as well, because it's not just me who's got different cultures and experiences.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people, like many of us here now in this panel have like different backgrounds and cultures. So yeah.
Oh, there's two things that you said there that I'm just so excited about. The idea first of home and
Yep.
what makes home. Well, actually, maybe I'll start with that one. And Lynn, because you can't, at home, unfortunately, if you're checking this out, you can't see Lynn's work, but there is, it's a kitchen. Am I right? It's a kitchen that has nature coming in through the appliances. It seems like there's like a whole other world, and then a lightness there. Do you feel that this is a sense of home for you, or do you try to capture that, or do you feel at home? Or maybe is it being a little bit unsettled is what helps you create if you don't feel at home? I mean, it could be either or. How do you feel about that?
I think like in my art practice personally, like what works the best for me is that when I feel happy when I'm doing art.
Yeah.
So the fact that I like experience like the culture back in Vietnam and like what we have here, it's kind of like it's been there's been a little bit of discomfort when I first got here about how of course I was like not feeling like super at home when I first got here. So I think making art was one of the way that I like kind of get myself to get used to things and finding ways to express my feelings more. And I think that's like one of the best way for me to like get the comfort in a new space. So yeah, I think in that painting, it was basically just me appreciating the nature we have here, and a sense of home, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting that in order to make home, sometimes we have to be a little bit uncomfortable maybe and know what makes us feel at home. And art seems to be a place that you start, and from there creating allows you to feel like, hey, there's a world that I belong in, and you've met lots of other people, I guess. Yeah, that's so. I really love these concepts of like belonging and ideas like that. It's very interesting to me. But you've said something about a whole audience, and that's like another perspective, because we've got all these people who are watching us and listening to us. So how important when we're creating something? This is going to be a big philosophical question, so everybody be ready for this. All right. We've got. So if we're creating art, how important is it that the audience get it or get exactly what you were thinking? Or in music, do they feel the same thing? Or in dance, are they getting it? Or are they interpreting it in a completely different way? And how important is your thoughts or feelings that were behind the work important for them to feel the same thing? Or once you've put it out there, once you dance, once you're sending it out, is it more important than how people interpret it themselves? This is Kamsika, how about dance? Dance is one of those things where people feel like they want to dance too, and you know, it's a very specific type of dance that you do. And so do you how important is it that people know completely what's going on in the dance, or is it just a feeling?
All right. So yeah, as you said, this is kind of a philosophical thing. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it is.
So the thing is, like certain things, for example, culture, we can't force somebody to take our culture, and we can't express our culture to somebody, and somebody cannot has zero idea about our culture. But when it comes to art, any form of art, we can connect our culture with another person who has no idea about our culture. Mm-hmm. That is really easy. But interpretation is another thing. People can interpret our art form in different ways. That is their imagination and also creativity. That is a different thing, but still it can connect. For example, if somebody is dancing here, nobody is gonna look somewhere else or care about nothing about that dance. There's not going to be a single person in a room will do that. Everybody will see that person. Okay, what she's doing, what he is doing, right? Like, but the interpretation can be different. Maybe the person is want to like express his or her sadness, but the other person can take that as a happiness or something else, like fear or anything else. It's a different kind of thing, but still there is a connection between.
Yeah.
So likewise, this is for the emotion. Same thing for the culture also. We cannot force somebody to learn about culture or get to know about our culture. But the thing is, when it is a dance form or any art form, we can convey the message very smoothly. The transition part is going to be very smooth, and that is more easy for both sides.
Yeah.
So like it's not forceful. It's going to be very smooth, so it's catchy.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel art form is very important for conveying anything like emotion, culture, whatever it is. It's very easy to convey the message from us to the audience.
Yeah, I like that idea that you can have that sense of sharing the culture, putting it out there. It's kind of a curiosity.
Yeah.
Like people will become curious. That's what you're saying. If you see someone dancing or if you're scrolling on your phone and you see all of us talking, then you might want to be curious about what's going on. And then what you do with that curiosity is kind of, yeah. Does anyone else want to talk about that? Or we feel like that was really philosophical?
I could chip in.
All right.
It is a delicate balance, staying true to your art form, the form of art that you chose for yourself, and then trying to help your audience understand it. Everyone has their own life experiences. Everyone's life is different, but also underneath it all, we have pretty much the same way of, the same feelings, experience universal things, something that we all share. And when you're trying to understand an art form that comes from a different culture, especially a more remote culture, it's important to get some form of context to know how that culture conceptualizes those feelings. And from that, you can just get immersed and see what you feel from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you want to add something there?
Just a thought now I was having.
Yeah, go ahead.
I added it in. I think just as something I always noticed is about the art I make is that because I'm a half-breed, I'm Mi'kmaq and Irish, British, what have you, combination of a number of different things. But when I make art that's more in the vein of the Mi'kmaq side, I find people tend to gravitate as if I only should make Mi'kmaq art. Or if I make art in the more Western style, people gravitate towards I should only make art in that style. And often I like to mix the two or just go with whatever I feel like making at the time. And I feel like it's important to remember that one person doesn't represent the entire culture as well. You're just one person, a small piece in a much larger world. And I think it becomes much more interesting when you start to connect to it on that personal level, because you start to see it as this individualistic story that you can actually relate to, as opposed to just this mass conglomerate of people that, frankly, you don't speak for all of them. And obviously, I'm not entirely sure if that makes sense. But
No,
just
I
as a
do
thought.
get that. Yeah, that's actually a really interesting concept to me, that idea of we tend to do that in culture. We'll hear one person or we'll have one person and we think that represents everything. But, no one person can represent an entire body of work or people or culture. We all have our own experiences.
Because there's also aspects that are just kind of inherently linked to different parts of culture as well. Like I have an indigenous background. A lot of the art I make that's related to nature or the natural world tends to be pushed into that vein of being seen as indigenous, because there's often this connection between the Mi'kmaq and the land a lot of the time. even though from my perspective, I'm just making it based on what I've seen and my own life,
Yeah.
which I guess it's interesting how people will add on to based on their perception of you or based on your perception of your background. They'll add on to what you're doing, even if that's not necessarily what you put in. And it can be both interesting and frustrating depending on the result.
Yeah, I can see that, and I think we do that. I think it's impossible for us not to. Our bias is that
It's not always a bad thing.
no, like, and sometimes I know bias is such a big loaded word, and we think of like, oh, bias, but sometimes bias. I like dogs, so I'm kind of biased that I'm going to find people when I go out. I'm going to chat with people who have dogs, and I'm going to put that on as like, I think how you're saying the nature is like people are interpreting it some way, so they bring this with them already, and so they're going to add a layer of interpretation, and sometimes that can be negative, but sometimes it can take them in a different way, and maybe it adds something to it. It allows them to make a connection with themselves and with nature. In your case, you were talking about bringing that nature in, and maybe that's okay to layer that experience on top. Speaking of nature, because it's a big thing here in Corner Brook. If you're tuning in not in Corner Brook, we're on the west coast of Newfoundland, and I think nature is probably one of the most pervasive things around us. I don't know, does anyone here not notice the outdoors when they're outside? Like here? It's kind of the mountains, the snow. Right now we have a lot of snow today. The whole nature around us and the animals, I think it would be impossible to live here and not be somehow influenced by that. Has anyone else
I don't know
found
if
that?
someone would indulge me commenting again or if anyone would
Go
rather
ahead, yeah.
hand it off and speak instead. It's interesting being on this side of the island, actually, because you look at so much of the landscape now, there's been this big movement to try and rebuild the landscape in a lot of ways because the mill took all the trees down. And now you look at it, and it's interesting because I come over here as opposed to on the East Coast where I'm from. And on this coast, a lot of people talk more about the trees and things, but all of these trees are second growth. They were all cut down. We're looking at, like, I guess the rebuilding, but you can look at the groupings of trees and you can tell that they're grouped together based on what people thought looked nice as opposed to how they might have actually been, like historically. And it's the same with like when you're walking up to Ginger Root on the trail, you can see that there's a lot of like streams and brooks, but then when you get to the top of that, it's because the pipeline where the water supply comes from is leaking. They're not natural. So it's kind of this interesting, at least in the Corner Brook area, I always find it interesting to go in the city area, and then you step out a little further outside the town, and then you see this more. It's interesting because it's like looking at a painting as opposed to looking at a photo. You can see how one is designed to look a certain way, as opposed to another is just the way it is.
Right. That's a really interesting idea. The wildness of it, I think, like when you step outside of what man has created.
The contained.
Yeah, the contained part.
Nature.
And I know, because my friend is from Sri Lanka, and I've talked a lot about the landscape there, and I have not, but talked about the Philippines, but I'm sure that it's very different than Corner Brook, Newfoundland. So how did that change from going to the landscape that you saw and then moving to Labrador, very different landscape from Corner Brook again? Do you feel that the land has impacted you?
I would definitely say that it has impacted me, where the Philippines is an island located in a tropical region. And then I had to move all the way to the west in a very, very cold climate like Labrador. I feel as if even my body was kind of rejecting it, where I have like dry skin because I'm built for warmer weather. But in terms of mentality wise, it did affect me because of just the different regions, and you feel at home more than one place to another. But I think that there's ways that you can overcome that, and like integrating within the culture that you are currently in, I think, is one of the best ways to just, I guess, not only think about different landscapes, but landscapes is also very associated with home.
Yeah.
And so I think that, yeah, just combining all landscapes that you've experienced is a really great way to appreciate everything.
Appreciate all of it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's have fun now because this is very serious and I've been very philosophical. I'm going to get everybody to tell me one plant, land feature from where you may have lived prior to here. It could be Labrador, it could be Philippines for you, whatever one you want to choose. One plant or an animal that you really miss from where you were, something that kind of makes you feel like a longing. And then one thing here that you found that you really love. Ooh, isn't this fun? Linda's looking like this is not so fun. but do you want to start, Lynn, and we'll go back this way?
I guess like talking about the kind of plant that I would miss most back home would be, I honestly don't even remember the name of it, but I know that it's some type of rose. Just
Okay.
because my mom grow them like out in the porch and they just really pretty and reminds me of how my mom like put so much work and care for it, and it's just really sweet of her. And the kind of plant that I love here is what is it called? Evergreen pearly?
Oh, Pearly Everlasting?
Oh, yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's, I didn't know the name of that. I said that as if I was like a botanist and I really knew things. I was really, really confident. I do know because we had a medicine walk at one of our events and I learned the name of that. So that's an interesting one because that is everywhere around here.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know the name. You've grown up with it. And it's kind of, it's not a really showy plant. Like, it's more of a soft kind of plant.
I guess so, yeah. Because like when I first got here, what I liked to do the most was just to like walk around and kind of look at what's growing on the ground.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they have like kind of a much lighter shade of green compared to other plants. And
Okay.
that's just like kind of really and like their plant, their stems is also like kind of furry and
Yeah.
soft and it's not like kind of smooth. So I just think they aren't showy, but
Oh, I love that. I love
They're
that they're not
different
showy.
and they're cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
they look
that.
so gentle.
They're so gentle and just they feel like comforting in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
I guess for me, like plant, tree, whatever, I'm not too sure. Something nature related is I definitely miss mango trees.
Oh, yes.
We used to have them in our backyard in the Philippines, and being able to just go into your backyard and pick it out and then eat something provided by nature, I thought that was really cool. Like mangoes in general start out very green, but once they're like sweet, they start yellow or they look like yellow. And I guess something that I appreciate when I came to Canada was the similar, but like the evergreen trees.
Okay.
They're everywhere in Lab City. And I think that it's just really nice because they don't change all season. It's just the same thing. And I don't know, something about it not changing what weather is happening in the environment just spoke to me. Like I have a lot of sketches of them. So
Yeah, I feel like they're sentinels. For me, like the coniferous trees, the evergreens, they're always there watching. They get covered in snow, but they stay steadfast. They are really like an enduring part of our landscape. I agree. That's wonderful. How about you? From the East Coast, which is quite different if you're not here in Newfoundland and you
More
haven't been here.
wind.
It's very different. Yeah, they're just like two different landscapes.
In terms of what I miss, I would have to say, because you would walk out on I'm from Bonavista area, so you go across Cape Bonavista, and when you're out on out towards Landscope Trail or the Dungeon area, you comes across, what's it called? You sees all the little foxes over on the hills, and they're like the black with like the orange streaks in them,
Yeah.
and they're out on the Cape, and there's also some like the red ones too, and it was funny because you go out in the summer or in the fall, and they go and play in the graveyards up towards the mortuary chapel, And you'd be walking there at night, and you just hear them coming behind you. You don't hear them, but you see the white flashes, and you think you're being haunted for a little while. And maybe that's just a fond memory for me, but I remember running down the road thinking that someone was following me through the graveyard, and it turned out to be a fox, this
Right.
smug, sitting out at the end of the road watching me.
Well, they are kind of like rascals. Like you think of foxes are a little bit, in our minds.
I suppose in terms of this coast, because I grew up between the two coasts. My grandparents comes from this side.
Okay.
But on this coast, one of the things just suppose recently is that there was an owl who's decided to sit himself outside of the chalet or residence complex over on campus. So at night, I would go out and stand outside the door with my roommate, and we'd listen to two owls call back and forth between each other.
Okay.
You
That
know,
is pretty.
I feel like a pointless fun fact in Mi'kmaq, owl is cuckoo wace.
Oh, okay. Owls are pretty amazing. And did you have one in mind already? It seems like you're eager. You know, John. You know what you're going to say. Okay.
Well, I don't actually have a straightforward answer.
How did I know that? Okay.
The thing that I miss the most about my previous life, I come from Russia originally, and for the first 16 years of my life, I lived in Western Siberia, and the thing that I remember most about it is snow.
Right. Oh, so you feel like at home here.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I'll get to that if I
Yeah.
don't lose my
Yeah.
thought.
Go ahead.
Then I lived in St. Petersburg for 12 years, and that's the place that felt the most like home to me for a long time. For over a decade, pretty much since a few months after I moved there, it just felt right, and because of that, I got sort of disconnected from nature proper. So I just got immersed in artificial culture, which is the nature in St. Petersburg, if it makes sense.
Okay.
All the architecture, and it just feels like you're in a museum if you're going for a walk. You can traverse different layers of culture, different centuries, going from one district to another, and it's all free.
Yeah.
So that was my habitat. Then I moved here, and that was like getting to a different planet. The nature here is in the foreground,
Yeah.
and I learned to appreciate it, especially the fact that the nature here is so subtle. There aren't that many bright colors that just jump out at you. You stop and take a breath and meditate, and analyze what you see around yourself. Northern climates are more. You have to try and understand them. So it's kind of like a Zen exercise to stay more grounded and mindful. This is what I appreciate about being here. And the climate in general is pretty much the same in St. Petersburg and in Newfoundland.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is this one quote from a classic Russian novel that stuck with me from the first time I read it for my homework in like 8th grade when I was just a teenager. Homeland is what your heart and soul are longing for. It's not a place outside in the world. It's a place within you.
Yeah.
And maybe in my art, that's one of the core parts of my philosophy when I approach creating something.
Oh,
It's
I
a
like
sense of longing, but I'm not trying to direct, pick out a physical place and call it home anymore.
I like that. And I think that ties back with how Lynn said it's subtle here, but it has an impact. It really does have an impact when we take that time to stop and see the subtle things. And how about you? So I know mangoes are probably something that you are also.
You read my mind.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks for taking mango because since I'm from a tropical country, mango is my love. I
Yeah.
love any form of mango. Anything mango is my
Yeah.
favorite. Like after I fell in love with mango, I like anything yellow. Anything
Okay.
yellow is my favorite. And since you took the name of mango tree, I'm going to choose another one. There is a small plant called holy basil. It's kind of a basil, but it's mostly available in the tropical country,
Okay.
which is called holy basil. Most of the houses in Sri Lanka has that plant.
Okay.
So it is a kind of a plant which spread positivity in your houses. Like some people has a money plant,
Yeah.
lucky plant, snake plant, what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
name it, whatever. So that plant is that kind of plant. Like when you have it at your home, you will have a lot of positivity.
Oh, okay.
I miss that plant a lot.
And does it have like a scent to it?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
like it's like basil but strong than basil.
Yeah.
And the color of plant is like not even dark green. It's like a purple shadow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I miss that plant a lot. Even when I'm going back to my country for a visit, I always sit and talk with that plant for about 5 minutes.
Yes.
Because that much I miss that plant. But when I came here, I love everything about Corner Brook except the snow. I like the snow, but the cold thing, yeah, that's a little bit annoying. But nature is very vibrant in Corner Brook. So I like everything about Corner Brook. The one thing I love is sage plant.
Oh, okay.
That is also because of the scent and the
Yes.
fragrance. I love the sage plant. So it's kind of like since I don't have holy basil here, I fell in love with sage plant.
Well,
So it's
and there
like-
is something about that because our memories are often very linked to scent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that gave me very if I am very nervous, stressed, and if I smell that leaf, I I feel like okay, fine, I'm good. I'm good to go. So it's like that kind of connection. So I really like the sage plant here. But other than that, I love everything about Corner Brook.
Oh, well, I think that's a great positive way for us to wrap up. We've heard from everyone, and I think that's really lovely that at home you get to hear about the things that you miss, because there are always things that we miss when we go somewhere, and there are things that we love about being somewhere new, but we live in that place of a bit melancholic, but also hopeful. And I think that's such a nice place to make art, of having multiple worlds and people and friends. And so thank you all. I feel like I've gotten to know you a little better. Hope you have at home. And thanks for sharing your work with us for this weekend. Thank you to ANC for organizing this. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And have a great day out there. Check these guys out if you have Facebook pages and that kind of stuff. See you next time.